Good morning. It is Friday, July the 9th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. Leading our news this morning, the National Union of Public Workers has been given 48 hours to respond to a letter served by the attorneys representing the suspended President Akani McDowell or face court action. A letter from Clark Gittins and Farmer dated July 6 and signed by Romari Drakes is addressed to the Acting General Secretary Wayne Walron and makes four main demands in relation to the suspension of McDowell and his inability to submit his candidacy for president. The letter says that the National Council of the NUPW in breach of the rules and laws of natural justice and is in breach of those laws because their client was never given any opportunity to be heard by the council or to have a meeting with the charges brought against him. The four demands being made of the National Council are: for the immediate withdrawal of the suspension, that everyone be communicated the withdrawal of the said suspension. Thirdly, that the period for submission of a member's candidacy be extended by 2 weeks. And finally, that the union agree to indemnify McDowell with respect to the cost which he has incurred in this matter. The letter further states that if there is no response, the appropriate injunctive action will be applied for to the court. The letter was copied to the Registrar of the Supreme Court, and under the Constitution of the Union, anyone being charged is to be given a chance to be heard by the National Council and also to have a chance to appeal the said charges as provided in Rule 10G of the Union's Constitution. Meanwhile, McDowell is yet to be tried by the council for the charges laid against him, and our Wendy Burke tells us that the council met again yesterday after meeting on Tuesday to look at how the matter will be addressed. Information has been leaked about those charges, but the NUPW remains tight-lipped on the matter. We have more from Wendy Burke.
It's been 2 weeks since the suspension of President of the National Union of Public Workers, Akani McDowell. He was suspended with a letter on June 23rd, and this week 2 meetings, one of which was held today, were convened to discuss the charges to be leveled against McDowell. When CBC approached the Acting General Secretary, Wayne Walron, he declined to give details about the meeting. Mr. McDowell was also contacted to find out if he was aware of any charges against him, but he too declined to comment. However, sources close to his camp have indicated that he has not yet received any official letter outlining charges. We are yet to find out what the outcome of the council meeting will be or when the charges will be officially laid against McDowell. But what we do know for sure is that an election is scheduled for July 14th for a new NUPW president, and McDowell's name is not on any ticket. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
In other news this morning, as the claims for damage from Hurricane Elsa continue to pile up, homeowners have again been warned not to take this hurricane season for granted and get their house in order. This word of caution is coming from the General Insurance Association of Barbados. The president and CEO of Massey United Insurance, Randy Graham, tells the Morning Report, clearly the trend indicates that the nation can no longer depend on the island being spared by any storm, as shown by Elsa. And as Barbados braces for the remainder of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, and with government already stretched picking up the pieces of Elsa, Mr. Graham says there's only two options. There are only two options, really, to be better prepared and to be protected through home insurance.
We are extremely worried, right? Global warming is creating new catastrophic events that we have not seen in the past. They're not modeled in the past. So when we had Hurricane Irma and Maria, no one had ever seen two Cat 5 hurricanes making landfall in that short space of time. I mean, early July, you have a hurricane already formed. We normally wouldn't see hurricanes forming this early because the waters are not yet that hot to support hurricane development. We have heat waves in Canada, causing foliage to catch a fire. I mean, there's clearly issues in the atmosphere that are creating unprecedented changes, and the problem with them being unprecedented is that we simply do not know what we will have to face. So a day or two out, it's a tropical depression possible of forming. Within a few hours, you hear, oh, it's a storm, and just on the heels of us, it's a hurricane, right? So you just don't have the time to prepare, and that's the concerning part, right? So in the aftermath, what we are seeing is infrastructure damage, water, electricity, taking some time to get us back up and going again, and houses that will take months now to repair, and this is just the beginning of the season.
Another COVID-19 death reported here in Barbados as we see an uptick in COVID-19 cases as well. That's coming in your COVID-19 updates. Barbados has recorded another COVID-19 death, taking the national tally to 48. The Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kenneth George, says the 79-year-old man passed in the early hours of yesterday.
The Ministry of Health has unfortunately recorded another death from COVID. Is an elderly male who passed away this morning at about 2:30 at Harrison's Point. He had several comorbid conditions, and he was being ventilated at the time. The Ministry of Health extends condolences to his family and friends. This brings our deaths from my records to 48 deaths since the onset of the pandemic.
The latest death comes as Barbados has recorded 40 COVID-19 positive cases in the past 8 days, with 33 of them coming in the last 4 days alone. Commenting on the situation, Dr. George says it has been linked to family clusters and an influx of travelers to Barbados.
As you know, we had indicated that there were 2 family clusters and business house we are following. But over the last few days, we have gotten some cases that have not been linked to those clusters, and we are investigating. In addition, there were a few persons who traveled from overseas, and there were a few cases that came in through our borders.
The 11 COVID-19 positive cases recorded on Wednesday comprised 4 males and 4 females, and 7 males. They were identified from among the 679 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. There are now 40 people in isolation. A total of 4,119 cases of the viral illness have been recorded since March last year. The Public Health Lab has carried out 191,428 tests since February last year. Under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, some 95,836 first doses have been administered, while 71,918 people are fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, the Public Relations Officer of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners, Dr. Russell Broom-Webster, says BAMP is very concerned. Speaking on CBC Newsnight, Dr. Broom-Webster says they need the data in order to better understand what's going on.
I think that the Barbadian public in general is concerned, especially since we've had a recent period of low levels of cases being reported on island. Certainly, as the CMO pointed out in his comments earlier, we would like to know more about the current contact tracing efforts. Whether these are clusters of cases, what percentage are imported cases, are these cases occurring in unvaccinated persons primarily? And another important point, are any of these cases related to variants of concern, particularly the very transmissible variant that we know is in Barbados, which is the Delta variant. So we need a lot more of that kind of information to be able to assess what the national situation is, but certainly from our point of view is concerning. An uptick in numbers is not a unique phenomenon to Barbados, especially related to relaxation of protocols. And certainly it's something we have to watch closely. We need to continue to enforce our testing and surveillance and make sure that we understand what is happening with transmission in Barbados, while encouraging persons to be vaccinated.
Well, we will continue here on the Morning Report to follow this situation. Let's hear what's happening now on the Friday edition of Morning Barbados from Pearson Bowen.
Thank you, Shane. Good morning, everyone. Coming up on Morning Barbados today, uniting the world in faith is what the Jehovah's Witnesses do in their convention, and usually at this time, that's Semicon. And so, how are Jehovah's Witnesses meeting together for the spiritual feeding? We get answers to those questions when they join us straight ahead on Morning Barbados. But today, we'll also introduce you on this Fresh Friday to a slew of exciting, talented people in Barbados. One, Chian, that voice, a magical voice, will be on the morning program this morning. And we get to meet the author of the book, The Rabbit Race, a very interesting book for those 6 to 12 years old, but even big old me found it rather interesting to read. We'll talk to them about that a little later on Morning Barbados as well. It's 12 after the hour. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. And up next here on the Morning Report, you'll hear about the latest renewable energy initiative to hit Barbados. A green energy park is on the cards for Barbados as the country seeks to expand the types of renewable energy sources here on the island. The announcement came from the Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley during a media conference yesterday ahead of the COP26, the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference. Green energy parks take the material that would normally be buried in landfills and turns it into either reusable products or energy for homes.
I don't want people to believe that the only aspect of renewable energy for us is going to be solar. We are pursuing wind, both onshore, but predominantly we hope offshore. We are also pursuing biofuels, and we are hoping that we will have a green energy park very shortly that will allow us also to solve our solid waste problem, as well as to ensure that there's a dedicated source of revenue for us to manage solid waste through partnering with the private sector in the green energy park. So these things are multidimensional, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take new ways of doing business and new financial instruments that have not hitherto been part and parcel of our experience.
Lots of Barbadians who were without power for the last few days, some of whom decided to turn to generator power, found themselves at the gas pumps more often than they normally go for their vehicles. The Morning Report caught up with Jason Croney, who was filling his generator at a pump in Worthing. Wendy Burke quizzed him on the cost involved in using this generator, and you can do the math on what it took from his pockets in comparison to a light bill for an average household.
Roughly about $115 or so.
$115. And how long is that going to last you?
Probably give me, I guess, about 10 hours of use. Yeah, about 10 hours of use.
What are you powering from it?
Refrigerator, fans, lights. I think that's about it.
While Mr. Croney said the outage has put him out somewhat, he was prepared for the storm and the loss of power all round.
It is a very big inconvenience. It just shows you what you really take for granted, to be very honest.
So what about the emissions and the noise?
That's not bothering me too much because I leave it on the vehicle and I park the vehicle at the furthest point away from the house and run the power cables. It's not ridiculously noisy, but there are some that are extremely noisy.
Now we hear that Barbadians need not fear the cost of repairing the damage caused by Hurricane Elsa, which will be passed on through their electricity bills. The assurance is coming from the managing director of the Barbados Light and Power Company, Roger Blackman. He was responding to questions from members of the media during a virtual conference yesterday.
Like many other utilities across the world, certainly those that are in areas prone to hurricanes, it is commercial insurance for wires and poles is not available essentially. So many utilities have had to come up with their own solutions to deal with that. And in our case, and like some others in the region, we would have established a self-insurance fund. We also have a captive insurance company, and so those basically the damages and costs associated with the event will be covered under insurance.
There is no doubt that utility companies have been hard at work since Barbados was hit by Category 1 Hurricane Elsa. Crystal Hoyt spoke to those on the front line trying to restore power to Barbadians.
It's been a busy week for Barbados Light and Power Company workers following the passage of Hurricane Elsa. They've been working almost around the clock, restoring electricity to thousands of Barbadians.
As you can see, it is not a quick fix.
That's Line Supervisor Reginald Paris talking about the mammoth job they've been undertaking since the all-clear was given in the aftermath of Hurricane Elsa.
For instance, if we go into an area, we would have to run that area, make sure all of the conductors are good enough to go back on the pole. We have to make sure there are no sources of supply coming from any end or from a generator or something that somebody may be using. And as you can see, most of it is manual labor, involves somebody going to each pole. And if you have a certain amount of poles down, imagine having to work on each pole in order to get back to a particular customer or a particular area. So it's a big undertaking.
He says the trees remain a major challenge for the utility company.
In several instances during the storm, trees actually came down, brought down the poles or brought down the lines. So it's a matter then of being able to trim the trees, which takes a while, then to recover the conductors, then to get them back on the pole.
Line crew foreman Ramel Cumberbatch tells us about the restoration process.
Well, this one is not that challenging to fix. It's just a short area, so we just need to get this pole back up, switch the wires over to the new pole, trim some trees, and then you can go back to the main road and close the fuses. But we have like customers in areas like St. John, parts of St. John, St. Joseph, St. Andrews are far out. And we need to get the main lines back up first. So we need to work from St. Michael, going through St. George, going through St. Philip, going through St. Thomas to get to some of those areas. So customers just need to bear with us for a little bit. We are working hard at extremely long hours. We're going to get there.
And safety remains a priority for the company.
We need to ensure the safety, the well-being, their health as well, of all our employees, even our contractors, and we take responsibility also for the safety of our public. So in this restoration effort, we need to ensure that we have proper job planning. We operate under safe working procedures and safe working practices.
As of tonight, more than 90% of customers have had their
to have rabbits, chickens, seedlings, or to have their own business. And this morning, the foragers are receiving the donations of the rabbits.
The St. George Primary School's 4-H Club has had an extensive agri-science program over the last 3 years. 10-year-old Zion Ford shared what she has learned from the club and why she's excited to embark on this new rabbit farming venture.
I've been learning how to take care of rabbits. I've been learning about chickens, and I've been learning about germination and types of adaptations for plants. I will be excited for the money.
7-year-old Demar J. Bend, who raises chickens, says he has had a passion for farming from a tender age.
I take care of dogs, chickens, and now I'm going to start taking care of rabbits. When I was a kid, my dream was to be a farmer and to have any animal that I can have so I can own.
Chairman of the Barbados 4-H Foundation, Osman Harewood, reminded the students that the rabbits are not pets, and he says rabbits were the livestock of choice because of their low maintenance and high nutritional value.
The key component of rabbit is that the meat is very high in protein, low in calories, as we are working on our nutrition in the country. So therefore, it's a very good substitute for a replacement of protein.
The students say they are eager to put their agri-entrepreneurial skills to the test over the summer.
I think I can manage it by myself, but if anything goes wrong, my grandfather is still a farmer, but he's very old, so he can help me out too.
Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
You gotta love the children. I hope that they enjoy the summer. 1 in 24 people in Trinidad and Tobago, and this is in the elderly population, is being abused. And this is according to the country's Director of Aging, Dr. Hyacinth Blake. She says it's an issue the authorities are very concerned about.
On average, there are about 2,255 cases reported each year to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and one act of elder abuse is one too many. Now, we did notice a dip in the trend. There was an escalation in 2019, and we would have realized that anecdotally it might have coincided with the increase in the senior citizens pension. But based on the data we have for 2020, there was a slight decline. We suspect that it might be because of the lockdown measures in Trinidad and Tobago. At the same time, we need persons to be aware that elder abuse is significantly underreported, and the average cases of that we are aware of are 1 in 24. So given that we need persons to speak out, we need people to be aware as to the signs of elder abuse and how to prevent it so that we can intervene and mitigate against its effects.
Story coming out of Louisville, Kentucky. Newly released body camera video captured the harrowing moments when a little girl was saved from her kidnapper by police. Here's a look.
It's one of the worst fears for any parent.
One more in the car.
A 6-year-old girl snatched from her bike by a stranger.
It's like the world stops, so it's like every second feels like hours.
Frantic neighbors call 911, seeing a man in a red Dodge Challenger pick up the young girl by her collar, throw her in the passenger seat, and take off.
Everybody was responding. Everyone from the entire division dropped everything they were doing. We probably had 13, 14 cars.
In 10 minutes, Officer Jason Burba and other officers track down the car. Sergeant Joseph Keeling gets behind the suspect.
To your hands! Okay, what's your exact location? Hands! Put your hands in the air.
40-year-old Robbie Wilt is arrested.
Keep walking back, get on your knees. Get on your knees.
You can hear the sirens blaring down the street.
When I approached the vehicle, I didn't know what was going to be behind the door. The windows, the tent was so dark.
What he found was the 6-year-old victim, petrified, but now safe.
Hello.
It's okay.
It was tough. You have kids.
Berta and Keeling are both fathers.
It's overwhelming, very overwhelming, especially when you hear her crying and asking for her family, that she's so scared. It was definitely a gut check.
This time, a happy ending.
This morning's Olympic moment with Mark Seal features one of the most controversial athletes in Olympic history.
Caster Semenya is a South African middle distance runner who is an intersex woman. That means she was assigned female at birth with XY chromosomes and naturally elevated testosterone levels. With this background, controversy has followed her career. Now, following her victory in the 2009 World Championships, Semenya was made to undergo sex testing, but she was cleared to return to competition the following year. On August 20th, 2016, she won the gold medal in the women's 800 meters at the Rio Olympics in a time of 1 minute, 55.28 seconds.
And then with 200 meters to go, Semenya countered. And she is known to have a devastating kick. She opened up a gap that is rarely seen over 800 meters. First across the line with a time of 1:55.28.
In April 2018, the IAAF announced new rules that required female athletes who have certain disorders of sex development to take medication to lower their testosterone levels in order to compete in the 400, 800, and 1500 meter events. Many people believe the rule change was designed specifically to target Semenya. She won't be competing in Tokyo.
Let's now take a quick look at the weather. Temperature close to 27 degrees Celsius. It's feeling like that too. It's partly cloudy on the outside and the humidity stands at 85%. The barometric pressure still at 1040 millibars this morning, and those winds are coming out of the east at 39 kilometers per hour. The low tide this morning will be at 13 minutes to 10. There will be a high tide around 21 minutes after 4 in the afternoon. Those seas are moderate in open water. Swells are a bit above normal, peaking at around 2.5 meters and expected to increase. It will be mostly sunny here in Barbados today with a few brief isolated light showers. And tonight we'll have a mix of clear skies and clouds with the occasional brief scattered light shower. It will be mostly sunny and warm over the Lesser Antilles today. And tonight it will be mostly fair. And that's it for this edition of the Morning Report, the Friday edition. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Barbados today, Friday, the 9th of July, 2021. I am Pearson Bowen, welcoming you on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook streams as well. Grateful for your company today. Today we'll meet the man who believes to be a legend in his own mind, taking that trip down memory lane on Crumpton Street. He'll join us as he's written all of that down in a book, and he'll be sharing that experience with us. We'll also this morning get to meet the exciting new talent in Faith Canada. She'll join us to talk a little bit about her journey through her career as well. But let's get started with Men in Motion this morning as we welcome Roy Downs, who is a tutor of Capoeira. Good morning to you, Roy.
Hey, good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing as well?
As I always say, fear to find with a little bit of soreness, as I always training. So.
Now you see there, right away, there's some training as Men in Motion. You're telling me you're sore from the training, and you're inviting us to take part in a workshop with you. So look out for some soreness as well?
Well, definitely. Trust me, I don't say exercising. That's the best part, because you don't go to the gym if you don't feel sore the next day. Something wrong.
Something's wrong. The art of capoeira, though. Tell us a little bit about that. We see it, and we see these graceful movements, but it's a little bit more than that. The story behind it is a bit more than that. So what is it?
So capoeira is basically Afro-Brazilian martial art. It started in Africa as first in the country of Angola. When the slaves got taken from Angola to Brazil, the martial art was developed then. But it wasn't really called capoeira back then. It was more like a rough version. The term capoeira only came around basically as in, between the late 1700s, basically when they were trying to make it more organized, and they found a name for it. Because the term capoeira means basically like a leaf blowing in the wind. So we have a lot of wavy side-to-side movements, ups and downs. Basically, when you see a leaf falling from the tree, that's how a capoeirista moves. So we're always moving, always fluid, always going in every direction. And like I said, capoeira is a martial art. It encompasses dance, it encompasses acrobatics, and it is the only martial art that has its own music. So literally, I had to learn how to play an instrument to progress, because it's not just like you go and you dance, because people just think that it's just a dance, but it's more than that. It's life. Like capoeira is part of everything, right?
When I watch it, as I'm watching here, it looks almost so orchestrated, as though the leg is going to come at you, so you do this movement. Is it that straightforward?
Sometimes yes and no, because it's a lot about coordination, and as you practice in martial art, your sense of awareness becomes better, so your spatial awareness, and you could kind of see how somebody's about to move before it happens. So mostly when you see us having our exchanges, like you would see me doing there previously, that's not even rehearsed. Sometimes it's just natural movement, right? So so it's just about, feeling out the movement. And everybody plays differently, because we call it in capoeira, we call what we're doing there a jogo. So basically, it's a game between two capoeiristas. And in capoeira, there's no male or female. Everybody's a capoeirista, and we go you recognize somebody by the level of their belt. So essentially, women could kick butt just as bad as as men, right? But it's seen as a manly, macho martial art. So, men are more drawn to it. But women do capoeira as well, too.
When we say martial arts, we often think of it as a combat sport. Somebody's going to get hit hard. But in capoeira, I don't see this person getting hit hard. Is that a deliberate... You know what I'm talking about. Is that a deliberate ploy?
Well, that's a myth. I have been hit. I remember when I first had my first black eye, I posted it on Facebook so many years ago. That was like a badge of honor. But capoeira, it all depends on the game, because capoeira has different rhythms, and depending on the style of game that you're playing, it determines if you could get hit or not. So it can happen, it does happen, and people tend to be more aggressive when you go up higher in belts. So you gotta be prepared to take a hit, get a couple of hits, and
earn your badge of honor.
Sometimes. Yes, exactly. Earn your badge of honor.
To be a part of this workshop, what's my fitness level that you'd expect me to come into the workshop with?
This workshop is for everybody. Everybody. It doesn't. always say that, I try to encourage movement for life. And this is one of these things that, that is an initiative to help men to move, and help people of all levels, depending on, I mean, like, if you got injury, it's going to be hard to move, right? But it doesn't matter the age or your experience level. This is like, how women got ladies' night. This is like ladies' night, men's night. You know what I mean? Like, this is an initiative to get men to come out, get anybody that's interested. I have ever had an interest in all the dances, like all the contemporary, the hip hop, the capoeira. I mean, age does not matter. I'm telling you guys, come out, please. I mean, women are welcome too, but they just got paid at the door. But it's $20 for this initiative where you get to learn from all these talented men in Barbados, including myself.
Yes, indeed. If you're just walking for just once, if you just want to walk in for the Capoeira session, for instance, it's just $10, but you can get to pay $20, so you get all of that. So, no particular skill level do I need to come in with. I coming as an individual, I'm allowed then to train with obviously someone who is a little bit more than me, better than I am for sure. Yeah. And so we get into the skill of moving and understanding the body, but I like the fact that you're able to assess have spatial awareness taught in the whole thing, because that's so critical. Sometimes in our own one-on-one exchange with people in regular day life, we're not even aware of the value of that spatial knowledge.
Yes, indeed. Especially now with COVID-19 being around, I mean, spatial awareness is very important. But I can say that Capoeira has taught me to be aware of my surroundings, and I have other like jobs, because I do personal security as well too, and that's one of the things that kind of helped me. I used to be a bouncer back in the day, and having Capoeira used to help me to get through the crowd, to move around people and to be aware of my surroundings. So, because you never know when a kick might be coming at your head. So I tell people all the time, like, a kick that's literally coming at your head like 40 miles per hour. You know what I mean? So like, you always gotta be aware. But like I said, I usually pair a beginner with somebody that has experience, like especially if we're doing partner work, so that person can kind of guide them to how to feel comfortable doing the movement. Because I know for even some seasoned dancers, the movements of capoeira can be a little bit awkward sometimes, but because dancers got that natural coordination, sometimes I love them, sometimes I hate them because they grasp everything so fast. So you never know. All I can say is just gotta come out and try it. Trust me. And I'm telling you, it's
so for someone like me who I have that coordination issue too. I want to be confident that when I come into your class, that nobody's going to be staring at me and thinking how odd he is. That I can feel comfortable to make my mistakes and learn from my mistakes.
Yes. Well, I encourage people to make mistakes because, where else but to feel comfortable in a dance class? Because, like, when I got into performing, we practicing martial art and then we got to demo it. I mean, you don't want to mess up out there, But I try to encourage like positive atmospheres where people are allowed to laugh, but not to insult. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that that in terms of like being in Barbados and being a man, sometimes the stigmas that we got to deal with as men in terms of like things we say to each other. But we need to change that and start uplifting one another. So this is why this program is so important to let the world and Barbados and everybody see that men are strong and we can move, depending on, what we do.
And to dispel that silly stigma associated with dance. So how long have you been in dance? So how long have you been doing capoeira?
I started at 22. I'm 36 now. So I would say roughly like 15 years.
Yes.
And I could tell people I was never like, I consider myself to be one of the, not the most, but one of the, in the top 10 listed most flexible men in Barbados, right? And I was overweight. I used to be a lighting technician for DB Productions years ago. I also used to work at a plantation, so I used to see dance happening at performance, and I was inspired back then, to try it. So I like capoeira for me was a part of my life, even from in secondary school, because I'm not like a stranger to performing. Because I used to perform with the Allen School Music Lab under Derry Atkins, who passed away recently. And I used to play the Barbados Youth Orchestra. I used to be a saxophonist. I used to play tenor sax. I had that experience, but then I was always shy because you said like coordination is always an issue, and
yes,
being slightly on the heavier side, you always feel awkward. And starting capoeira for me, it changed my life, man. It changed everything. It changed my focus. It changed my outlook on life.
yes.
I went to Canada, and that in itself, like meeting the people there and getting to network with all the different styles and different masters of capoeira, like it helped me to really get a better understanding of the martial art and the purpose of the martial art. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, from your story alone, I think all of us are inspired now to really come join your class, for real. To see the transformation and to know we would all want to have that transformation in ourselves too. So your session is on which day?
My session is on the 28th. And all the
this month?
sessions will be of this month, yeah. We initially were supposed to start on the 30th, but
Yes.
because of the passage of the tropical storm, hurricane, we had to push it back. So the first class was with Guy Marley,
Yes.
on Wednesday, and so far we got 12 men registered, and there's room for more. Okay, there's room for more.
Of course.
Men, I'm telling you, don't be ashamed. Just come out and just try it. This is your time to come out and try something new. This is like the best of the best in Barbados coming together. This is like the ultimate collab right now.
I like it. The ultimate collab right now. Men in Motion, remember, it's with the Barbados Dance Theatre. You would have seen at the bottom of your screen just now how to contact Dr. John Hunt to register, or you can walk in early enough and make your payment and enjoy the class. Yours is on the 28th of July, Roy, and I'm sure you're going to be flooded because it looks like such a great skill to take up. So I really hope that everybody turns up and enjoys your class as well. So Roy Downs, thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk a little bit more about your particular skill in capoeira, and I hope that your class is so full you have to do more and more and more.
Well, I hope you can make it as well, Pearson. This is a personal invitation for you to come out and try it. It's never too late to start. You understand? Like, trust me.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. It's Wednesdays
so
at
much.
5 o'clock. Wednesdays at 5 o'clock
Yes,
is like
like the
I'm usually engaged in something else at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, and that's the truth. So really, you never know. I mean, just like production team were saying lies. That's not true. You know, but we'll see how it goes. Well, thank you, Roy. Have a good day. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Good again. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
In 1929, religion was exalted to the position of 1900 years ago. In 1972, Jesus Christ is in charge.
That's the way we'll go today. We'll be taking a look at the Jehovah's Witnesses annual convention and to see over time how it has changed. We're happy to be joined today by Craig Jones, who is the public communications representative of Jehovah's Witnesses here in Barbados, and our friend Robert Hendricks, who is the national spokesman with Jehovah's Witnesses. Good morning, both of you brothers. Good morning.
Good morning, Pearson.
Good morning, Pearson.
Good to see you both again. It's a centuries-old way of Jehovah's Witnesses coming together for that spiritual feeding. And yet, in 2020, we were met with a pandemic. And so quickly, very quickly, Jehovah's Witnesses snapped into action and thought, we're not losing this opportunity to come together to feed spiritually. We're going to find a different way to do it. Robert, let's talk a little bit about that, the decision behind moving, rather than cancelling, moving it onto the virtual space.
Well, Pearson, first of all, thank you for having us again. We do appreciate it. And looking at that reel that preceded us, I was at all of those 2019 conventions around the United States branch, 7 of them, and it almost brought tears to my eyes watching us hug one another and be with one another in real life, person to person, because it's been a long time, and it's and it is a tradition that we've had. It's valued every year for more than a century. We've invited the public, but because of the dangers that exist with in-person events, we did go virtual last year in 2020, and this year as well. And what's amazing about being able to put something on a platform like jw.org, which is translated into 1,000 languages, it allows us really to get to the entire world. We translate the convention. Last year was in more than 500 languages. We expect the same this year. Sign languages, as well as being able to if you're blind, being able to have voice descriptions of videos. It's a beautiful resource for the world, but it's also something that comes with a little bit of sadness because we're not getting together again.
Yes.
But it helps us to feed the world, all of our congregants and all of our neighbors who want to attend in a very powerful way.
And I'm glad you said it in that context, because uniting the world in faith, someone watching today will say, but why are Jehovah's Witnesses even bothering with this? What's so important about having a convention? What would you say?
Well, it's absolutely critical, because when you think about the crisis of faith that this world is in, there's no better time to be really thinking about and rekindling our faith. The last 16 months have sapped us of our faith in so many ways. For Jehovah's Witnesses, I know in the 16 months, our faith has gotten us through. But for many others, their faith has been affected in government, in even the church, in institutions, even in higher education institutions. And so rekindling our faith, being able to deliver this on a world platform in a united way, uniting all of our brothers and sisters around the world this weekend to be able to view this second installment. Well, that's just what we have to do in a time like this, because faith is what gets us through these times. Faith helps us to see the other side of this pandemic, the light at the end of the tunnel. And so we need it, and we need it now.
We do indeed. And Craig, this, as Robert just said, is the second installment, but last weekend, most of Barbados was in darkness. And so how can people look back in Barbados to see the first installment before we go forward to the second installment?
Thank you very much, Pearson. That's a very good question. Well, on our website, www.jw.org, the programs are there. They're free to download. So any person who wants to see the Friday morning session, they can go onto our website, they can stream it, or as we always encourage persons to download the program. In fact, for many of Jehovah's Witnesses, because we downloaded the program in advance, even though most of us were without power on Sunday, many of us were able to watch that program as if it was our usual routine. So we follow through in downloading the program, and even though we had no power, we were able to enjoy the Friday morning session. That was absolutely amazing.
What you're describing to me, I'm hearing you to say, is convenience as well. While we may not necessarily all be in one space at the same time, there is a measure of convenience through the JW.org and JW Broadcasting, which is so critical to how we still are able to benefit from all that the convention has to offer.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
no
very
doubt,
important.
Pearson.
Go ahead, Robert.
No, go ahead, please, Craig. Oh, well, I was just going to say there's no doubt about it. One of the benefits of going virtual and being able to put it on this format in 500 languages is that those who normally couldn't have made it into a venue, those who couldn't have afforded it to go to travel, those who are disabled, the sick, the elderly, those who have been suffering with COVID or post-symptoms of COVID, those who are fearful, the blind, the deaf, so many have benefited from this program because just as an example, it will be delivered in some 100 sign languages alone. And so when you really think about it, even though we're sad we're not in person, we recognize that probably more people will be able to benefit from this around the world.
You're quite right. But it's broken down into sessions. And so there's the Friday session, and there's also the Saturday session and the Sunday session. And why? Why is it broken down in that kind of way?
Well, you know, we typically have 3-day conventions. So they're 3 days of immersion. We'll come together. First of all, on Thursday, we typically get into the convention city, wherever that may be in the world. We clean up the facility, get it ready to make it a house of worship for 3 days. We immerse ourselves in 3 days of content, but also fellowship. And then afterwards, typically we are getting together to socialize. And so it's an experience for our brothers and sisters. But for us to put 3 days of content out there in one weekend is not practical when you're talking about a virtual environment. So breaking this up into half-day increments, so 3 days becomes 6 sessions over the course of the entire summer, allows us to take it in smaller bites, kind of assimilate it, see how it applies to us, be able to talk to our congregants, our fellow congregants about it, and it really can affect our lives and really have sustaining value throughout the summer.
Craig, let's look at the Barbados approach, though. Is it similar as in the international arena? The same approach we're taking?
Exactly the same approach. Jehovah's Witnesses are united in our worship. So we're no different here in Barbados. So this Sunday, for example, Jehovah's Witnesses and all persons who are interested, we invite them to view the program so they can go onto our website as we speak, www.jw.org. They can download the program in anticipation and they can watch it. And the beautiful thing about downloading the program is that for many of the members of our organization, they can go back and they can replay a particular point. There's so many videos or real life experiences that are brought to life with characters. They can go back and watch those. And so that's a significant advantage that Jehovah's Witnesses enjoy, and we're inviting the public to take full advantage of that.
And the way we're showing on the screen, folks, you can see it for yourself. You can be warmly invited to watch this year's convention program, learn how to build your faith in God and strengthen your hope for the future. And you can download it or watch now. All of that's possible. And you know what I've noticed too, Craig, is that congregations are also sitting together and watching together. You can choose to do so as a congregation, you can choose to do so as a family, you can choose in so many different ways to access all of this. And so it's important as a community of Jehovah's Witnesses to benefit one from the other.
Yes, so what happens, we'll have a shortened version of a Bible discussion of the Watchtower. And for some persons, because we're on a virtual format, they will choose to watch the convention with others on the Zoom platform. Others may choose to watch a little later in the day as a family, and then sometimes we get together in a virtual format in the evening and discuss some points. So on Sunday, if you log into our usual meetings, you have a shortened version, a half-an-hour session, and then we jump right into the convention program. So if that's what you want to do, you can do that as one of Jehovah's Witnesses or as an invited guest, or you can watch it at your convenience a little later in the day or later in the week. That's the beauty of the manner in which our conventions are now being presented this summer.
Indeed. Robert, I want to look at the theme, Powerful by Faith. And I know you touched on it earlier, but I want to reinforce it for everyone who might have just joined as well. Why this theme this year, Powerful by Faith, as the convention theme?
Well, what's interesting is that we chose this theme some years ago, but it is so appropriate today because as we look at what has happened over the last 16 months, it has shaken our faith. It has affected all of us. We're not alone. Just because we're men and women of faith, it doesn't mean our faith isn't affected by going through difficulties like this. Many of us have seen loved one dies, dealt with the sickness ourselves, have lost our income. And so it does affect the faith that we have in the things that we have perhaps put a lot of credence in. And so this really rekindles our faith in where it should be, in our Creator, in God's Word, in also the examples in the Bible which help us to be people of faith. Daniel is a perfect example of a man of faith that in the Bible, his life spans almost 80 years of faith that's chronicled in the Bible. And there's going to be a feature film on 2 days about him. We have a morning session, entire morning session on women of faith in the Bible. Beautiful examples of those in the Bible who are women of faith. So for everyone, this will lift our spirits, rekindle our faith, and help us to get back on track personally so that we can get through this. And as a result of getting through this, be better on the other side of this pandemic than we were when we went in.
Absolutely. So such a powerful convention indeed, folks. And you can access it by going to jw.org or JW Broadcasting and see for yourself. Download, watch, and get a chance also to interact with brothers from other congregations to get a sense of how you can now become a part of the Jehovah's Witnesses and learn the truth, really, as you feed together spiritually. Craig, is it open to anyone, or does one have to be simply a Jehovah's Witnesses?
Pearson is open to any person who wishes to watch the program. Our website is there. So you just log on to our website and you go into What's New and download the program. So we invite all of Barbados to take full advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And it comes at a time where we really, really need faith, which is intricately linked to hope. And that helps us as we navigate this challenging time that we're facing.
I want to leave it right there, folks. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. Craig Jones, Public Communications Representative, and Robert Hendricks, the National Spokesman, Jehovah's Witnesses as well. Brothers, thank you. And I want to encourage everyone, even if you're remotely curious, find out for yourself. Just go jw.org and let your curiosity be satisfied. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Morning Barbados continues after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Time for us to get an update on the news, and for that we turn to Shane Seeley. Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. A 48-hour deadline has been issued for the National Union of Public Workers to respond to a letter served by the attorneys representing suspended President Akani McDowell or face court action. A letter from Clark Gittins Farmer dated July 6 and signed by R.O. Omari Drakes is addressed to the Acting General Secretary Wayne Warren and makes four main demands in relation to the suspension of McDowell and his inability to submit his candidacy for president. The letter says that the National Council of the NUPW acted in breach of the rules and laws of natural justice, because their client was never given any opportunity to be heard by the council or to have a meeting with the charges brought against him. The four demands being made of the National Council are for the immediate withdrawal of the suspension, that there's communication about the withdrawal of the said suspension, Thirdly, that the period for submission of a member's candidacy be extended by 2 weeks and the elections be delayed. And finally, that the union agree to indemnify McDowell with respect to the costs which have been incurred in the matter. Now, the letter further states that if there is no response, the appropriate injunctive action will be applied for to the court. Now, the letter was copied to the Registrar of the Supreme Court, and under the Constitution of the Union, anyone being charged is to be given the chance to be heard by the National Council and also to have a chance to appeal the said charges as provided in Rule 10G of the NUPW's Constitution. Meanwhile, Mr. McDowell is yet to be tried by the council for the charges laid against him. And Wendy Burke tells us that the council met again yesterday after meeting on Tuesday to look at how the matter will be addressed. Information has been leaked about those charges, but the NUPW remains tight-lipped about the matter.
It's been 2 weeks since the suspension of President of the National Union of Public Workers, Akani McDowell. He was suspended with a letter on June 23rd, and this week 2 meetings, one of which was held today, were convened to discuss the charges to be leveled against McDowell. When CBC approached the acting General Secretary, Wayne Walron, he declined to give details about the meeting. Mr. McDowell was also contacted to find out if he was aware of any charges against him, but he too declined to comment. However, sources close to his camp have indicated that he has not yet received any official letter outlining charges. We are yet to find out what the outcome of the council meeting will be or when the charges will be officially laid against McDowell. But what we do know for sure is that an election is scheduled for July 14th for a new NUPW president, and McDowell's name is not on any ticket. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
Another COVID-19 death reported here in Barbados, taking the national tally to 48. And the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kenneth George, says the 79-year-old man passed in the early hours of yesterday.
The Ministry of Health has unfortunately recorded another death from COVID. Is an elderly male who passed away this morning at about 2:30 at Harrison's Point. He had several comorbid conditions, and he was being ventilated at the time. The Ministry of Health extends condolences to his family and friends. This brings our deaths from my records to 48 deaths since the onset of the pandemic.
The latest death comes as Barbados has recorded 40 COVID-19 positive cases in the past 8 days, with 33 of them coming in the last 4 days alone. And commenting on the situation, Dr. George says it has been linked to family clusters and an influx of travelers to Barbados.
As you know, we had indicated that there were 2 family clusters and business house we are following. But over the last few days, we have gotten some cases that have not been linked to those clusters, and we are investigating. In addition, there were a few persons who traveled from overseas, and there were a few cases that came in through our borders.
Now, the 11 COVID-19 positive cases recorded on Wednesday comprised 4 females and 7 males, and they were identified from among 679 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Lab. There are 40 people in isolation, and a total of 4,119 cases of the viral illness have been recorded since March last year. Meanwhile, the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is calling for data from the Ministry of Health and Wellness regarding the recent spike in cases. BAMP's Public Relations Officer, he is Dr. Russell Broom Webster, and he explains why the information is critical for the association and for the public.
I think that the Barbadian public in general is concerned, especially since we've had a recent period of low levels of cases being reported on island. Certainly, as the CMO pointed out in his comments earlier, we would like to know more about the current contact tracing efforts, whether these are clusters of cases, what percentage are imported cases, are these cases occurring in unvaccinated persons primarily? And another important point, are any of these cases related to variants of concern, particularly the very transmissible variant that we know is in Barbados, which is the Delta variant. So we need a lot more of that kind of information to be able to assess what the national situation is, but certainly from our point of view is concerning. An uptick in numbers is not a unique phenomenon to Barbados, especially related to relaxation of protocols. And certainly it's something we have to watch closely. We need to continue to enforce our testing and surveillance and make sure that we understand what is happening with transmission in Barbados while encouraging persons to be vaccinated.
That's your 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Steele. You'll be getting more updates at 12 in CBC Newsday.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is now 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. You know what comes at this time of day. Crumbs question of the day. Time for you to win by calling me on 228-5562 or 228-5563 for the Crumbs question of the day. I hope you get it right. Here comes today's Crumbs question of the day. Relatively simple question, I think. The question is, how many crispy fried chicken outlets are there in Barbados? How many crispy fried chicken outlets are there in Barbados? Do you know? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Only two numbers to call. How many crispy fried chicken outlets are there in Barbados? 228-5562 or 63. Of course, as I know you will have already been trying out your crispy fried chicken. You know, get to know how tasty it actually is. Absolutely delicious. I've tried it myself, so I know what I'm talking about. Try it too. You'll get to experience what I've experienced. So, how many crispy fried chicken outlets are there in Barbados? 228-5562 or 228-5563. You know it. So come on, let's go guess it, even if you have to guess it, as happened yesterday. Good morning to you. Hello.
A blessed morning to you, Pearson. How are you this morning?
A blessed good morning to you too. I'm very well. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Oh, that's good to hear. What parish are you watching us from?
Beautiful parish of St. Michael, Black Rock Deacons.
Well, all right. There's a much more beautiful parish in St. Lucie. You know that, right? Don't challenge me. So what's your answer this morning?
There are two outlets, but one is coming soon in St. Philip. There's
Do you work for Crispy? Do you work for Crispy?
And it's Fairchild Street.
Do you work for Crispies?
No, but I like Crispies because I won, and I just want to give this one to someone, one of my good friends, because this food tastes really good though. The sweet and
tastes really good.
sauce and the chips, everything, barbecue,
What did you have?
everything.
What did you have?
I had a mixture of both. I had fried barbecue with sweet and sour sauce. And you know something, person? I was really angry last week when they had the rain because I turned up to get my Fries and Krispies, and the girl said, "There's no business here today." And I even put it on my status. I was so angry. I was just thinking about my Krispies coming all down St. George Day, my Krispies, and then to get the bomb.
I can imagine. You know, you have a taste in your mouth for something, and then you're let down.
Yeah,
so I understand when you got
laughing
to be told.
When the taxi guy went in, he said, "I'm sorry, Sonia, no Krispies for you today." I just laughed like hysterically.
But you're going to get it now. You got it for sure, and you're going to get it again today because you're absolutely right. There are two locations. You said where? Speightstown and
Churchill Street. Where super
absolutely. And the new one coming where?
6 Roads.
All right, girl, you're a real ambassador for crispy fried chicken, for real. Thank you so very much, Sonia, for watching us from St. Michael, the beautiful parish of St. Michael, and for winning by correctly answering our question. There are two locations of crispy fried chicken, and thank you, all right? Stay on the phone, Sonia. Sonia, someone will take some more information from you. Sonia's spot on. Two locations, Speightstown and Fairchild Street, with a new one coming really soon. But like Sonia, you can build your excitement to get to taste crispy fried chicken today at either location. You can get those really delicious seasoned fries, really, really delicious, I'm telling you. And those sauces are, as the young people would say, to die for. We're going to take a break right here, and we'll come right back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's after 7 o'clock, and I must tell you, there's so much going on in Barbados. There's so many people creating content and creating new things. What a time to be alive on this beautiful island. And one person who has written his own book called A Legend in My Own Mind. I just like that. In his own mind. Matthew Clark, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing?
I'm well.
The book is called A Legend in His Own Mind. Who did you write this book?
Well, the book is about me and my time at school, mostly about sporting acting at school. And at school, I was known as a bit of a braggart and a boastful fellow. So the stories are basically about me and what I did. And when I say in his own mind, that was a tongue-in-cheek kind of title, because I've spoken to people and people don't remember them. I remember them very clearly, but clearly in my mind, not everybody doesn't remember them as clearly as I do. But out there, everybody can read them and enjoy them.
I love the fact that you can take a look at yourself and your accomplishments, and even if you want to make a joke about it, you're free to do so. So, A Legend in His Own Mind, your story about your experience at Crumpton Street. Now, for anyone, and they're thinking, all right, so Matthew, what were you so legendary? What would you say to them?
Well, in my mind, I would say I was very legendary at sports at Harrison College. And so all the stories are sport related. But the interesting thing is, Pearson, that people have read the book and said, you know, I picked up the book, but I really am not into sports. But I love how you told the stories. And that was basically what I was going for. I just wanted well-told stories that were interesting, regardless of if you like sports or not, because it's not a sports book. This is not, it's not a sports book. They're not my memoirs. They're about me, but they're not my memoirs. It's just for interesting reading. As a fellow told me via WhatsApp, uncomplicated fun.
Yes, yes. One of your reviewers said the book was funny and gave vivid imagery. This writing style of yours, where was it cultivated? At the same Harrison College?
I would have to say so. I was not a writer prior to that, so I would have to say it was cultivated at Harrison College and honed by Mrs. Ward of Harrison College. She was really on top of me when I had to do my essays and that kind of thing. But I must tell you, I read a lot, and you pick up different styles from different writers. And so I've probably put all of those together, including my own flavor, and what the result is, a legend in his own mind.
In his own mind. So this writing style of yours that was nurtured by Mrs. Ward, you know, you learn about yourself, Matthew, in adopting this style of writing, because you could have chosen to do anything else, but you decided, I'm going to write, and write my own book, A Legend in His Own Mind.
Well, the style, I must tell you, the style of writing is basically my style of storytelling. In my foreword to the book, my authors know, I talk about the fact that I've told these stories ad nauseum. Let me say nauseum, but yeah, ad nauseum in the various groups I get together with, family or friends or school gatherings. I tell these stories, and the response to these stories, apart from them, generally people are very engaged with my storytelling style. So that really is what has come to the fore. What I learned about myself is that people like the way I tell stories. I did not know that as a fact before. I guess I would have guessed it because, the people don't walk away and telling the stories verbally. Yes. So I get the impression they're interesting, but I went on social media and I wrote a very short story, and the responses were amazing. And it was from that a fellow actually said, you need to write a book, stop this social media thing, write a book. And from that, I decided to do it, and I wrote this book.
So is the book only available in hard copy, or is it soft copy? And I know you've done an audio version as well, so talk to me about the different ways we can access this.
Pearson, the audio version is not out yet, and it's only in hard copy. The Kindle version will be coming out very shortly, within a couple of weeks. But apart from that, version will take a little longer to get out there. But I must add, they requested.
Yes. So this legend in your own mind, his own mind, is available in bookstores across the island.
No, I haven't gotten them in bookstores.
So where do we get a copy?
You got to get a copy from me, and what you can do is send me your order. The number is 234-424. That's 234-0424. You WhatsApp me a copy. I am looking to get them into bookstores. I haven't approached anyone yet. I must tell you, this process is very new to me, and I'm learning as I go. I'm currently indicated, Matthew, when you launch your book, you need to bookstores so that people just go and get it. I said, all right, I'll get it. The launch hasn't come yet. This is my first exposition of it.
Yes.
Bookstore in train going forward from here.
So folks, read, and I mean, as has been reviewed by people, you know, it's funny, vivid imagery, this remarkable recounting of an exemplary athlete in his glory day. All of that tells you about the book. Yeah, that's what people are saying about the book. So we want you folks, and you need to WhatsApp Matthew Clark. He's the author right there on your screen. Up into this number, 234 024 234 044. That's the number to reach Matthew Clark, and you get a copy of this book as well, already available.
And it will be delivered, Pearson.
All right, there's a delivery. So you're going to see him face to face, combat him on this book as well.
No face to mask, but I say I understand what you mean.
Thank you so much, Matthew Clark, for exciting us about a legend in his own mind. That's the title of the book by Matthew Clark. You're very welcome. Folks, it's available simply by a WhatsApp, by WhatsApping Matthew at 234 0424. All the best, Matthew. We're looking forward to talking about the sequel. Thank you. All right, Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Get your copy of The Rabbit Race by Carrie Messiah. Discover how this exciting adventure unfolds with gray, spotted, and a brown rabbit. Written in a dramatic, find out who wins the rabbit race. To order your copy of...
Well, that's just a teaser to the book. The book is called The Rabbit, written by Carrie Blackman Messiah, and she's going to join us with her marketing coordinator in Julia Licorice. Good morning, both of you.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Hi, Carrie.
Good morning,
okay, I understand that Julia might not be joining us this morning.
I'm sorry?
You're Julia.
Yes, I'm Julia Licorice.
Sorry about that. I'm just listening to a number of things in my ears all at the same time.
Yes.
So, Julia, Carrie has written this book. Carrie Blackman has written this book called The Rabbits. It's quite an interesting, but it's very pretty to look at on the cover, but it's also captivating in the story. And for me, when I the one thing I do is always read the first paragraph. If the first paragraph grips me, it's a book I want to read. So here we go. I turned the page and I saw a colony of rabbits lived on a beautiful tropical island. This island was like a paradise where the golden sun would appear every day and light up the beautiful sky. Sometimes it would play games with the clouds darting from behind the big fluffy ones, or sometimes from behind a big gray rain cloud. Then the sun would peep out again as if to boast, I have won this game. It caught me. It had me. I sat here and I read, almost went down to the very end. What a book.
Yes, my mother, Messiah, was the author, and she's inspired and has a passion for literacy and children. She's a retired teacher, has been teaching at Ellerslie and Springer, so she has a teaching experience of over 38 years. Yes, and she has always been the go-to teacher in terms of helping with events and or helping events, and also, having to motivate and inspire the children.
Right.
Whenever she goes out, children always remember her and say, "Hey, Miss Messiah, Miss Messiah," and she was also the community lessons teacher. So everyone would come to Miss Messiah for lessons.
Mm-hmm. So she's done a lot, but she's also well-traveled. From all of those experiences, there are a couple of things that are common. And so this rabbit race helps to bring out humanity, because as I read it, I kept thinking, while the story says a rabbit race, their activities seem so human. So human, that's exactly what humans do. And so talk to me a little bit about personifying those rabbits and the strategy behind this book.
Yes, well, my mom, she will be joining us shortly. She came up with the idea, and she would just probably write it over a whole, it would take about a week for her to write it. And the personification of the rabbits really was because she wanted to bring out different morals, and also to again help children with literacy.
Right. How was it like working as a family on this project, though? What's that like?
Yes, hi, Mom. Right.
Hi, good morning.
Well, that has been quite interesting. I just have to say, thank God for God-given talents. My husband, Ricardo Licorice, he did the website and also the book trailer that we would have seen at the first part of this interview. He also did the graphic design and the digital coloring layout for the book. And then my sister, Jacqueline Sarah Russell, she's actually in the Bahamas, and she did the illustrations for the book. So, and my mom is the author, and I also have the marketing. Yeah, but of course, the last couple of months has been quite challenging, but thank God, we were able to, thank you guys. This kind of really helped to jumpstart us to getting the book promoted. Yeah.
It's our pleasure, because we believe celebrating the goodness of who we are and the excellence of our Barbadian people. Joining us right now is the author, Carrie Blackman Messiah. Good morning to you, Mrs. Blackman. Congratulations.
Right, you too, and to Barbados, and to all those. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I turned the pages of Dr. Julia just a moment ago, and I began to read the first paragraph, and I was gripped by the story. Our tradition, too, as young people growing up, was it began to cool down. We'd all get together and play games, and that's what what the rabbits did. So you told a really gripping story about life through the eyes and the experiences of a colony of rabbits. So tell me about the inspiration of writing about the rabbits and really bringing to showing our lives as well through that.
Well, I've been in the profession for many years. As a matter of fact, started from the time I was 8 years, and I would often bring children to my house and so on. So I always had a passion for children. But then I was teaching, and then I ended up teaching English and language. And I really wanted to enhance children's literacy, the reading, and more. So I thought to do a story like this type, would bring it to life, because we have so many outside media genre as well. So the stories are told, and we have children learning from other aspects of life. The stories sometimes might not be as positive. So I wanted to enhance something that is positive for children, yet understanding, they can enjoy it, and yet they can learn lessons from this, because there are many lessons from here. As you read it, you can conclude for yourself.
Indeed. While it was a race, and races are generally competitive, there is still some camaraderie, there is still some cohesion, and people beginning to work together as a community. So I think it's a really good book to read for children to read. But it's written in a style that not just stirs your imagination, but it's easy to understand and to read and to follow. Was that deliberate?
Yes, that was deliberate. I did it with the rabbits because the rabbits are very colorfully and lovable, and I tried to get the children, because most children will like rabbits and animals, and they can tell the story through that, as opposed to preaching to children, because over my years, and I noticed that if you tell a child don't do something or do something, but the story tried to enhance them and to encourage them to be positive, to follow your own paths, don't follow the crowd. So that was the gist of the story.
One of the things about reading is your imagination, and it's important to be able to do so. And I know while there might be children at different stages and ages and their ability to read can be a little bit slower than others, reading as a parent to the child is so very critical. On page 12, you go on to say, the day was a fine one, the race. The sun shone even brighter that day in the sky, and not could be seen. The animals all came out to see the race, everyone, earlier than usual, because the animals wanted front row seats as they anticipated what would happen next. And I could just imagine the drama that was building and the excitement about this race. I'm not telling folks who won the race because I was able to peep to the end to see who won the race. But this is such a great book. It ends with a bit of work to do because now you check some activities there. Tell me about that and those activities.
Well, the activities are to help children to understand, help them to be observant, like how to spot the differences. So it teaches you to look at your environment and also to observe what's around you and challenge you. Then we had one with you draw an actual rabbit. So we taught the children, we did a little program for them that they can actually trace and so on. And, encourage them to hope for their arts or their writing skills or whatever. Yes.
This is your second book. Your first was A Tropical Holiday, and now you're to The Rabbit Race. Is your third one coming out of you, Miss Blackman?
Very soon, yes. Because I wrote about 3 books at the same time. 3 children's books, The Rabbit Race, The Mangy Goat, and Little Bird Ray. And then I would shelve it, and then thought would hit me again, and it's got inspired more or less. It would hit me again to come, and so the next book is the Mangy Goat, and that was written a while ago, but people think it's written around COVID, the story that it's based on, anyway.
How inspired you were really truly inspired for this time. So Julia, now your task is to get this book out there, to get everyone to get a copy of it. So how can we access this? I mean, I think I will use the word deliberately. It's a great book. How can people really get copies of this book?
Right, well, there are a few different ways, and one, you can give us a call or WhatsApp us at 1-246-285-5120. Or you can email us at info@kjanenterprises.com. You can go straight to our website at www.kjanenterprises.com, or you can go to amazon.com and look for The Rabbit Race by Carrie Blackman Messiah.
We have the information right there on our screen for us, so quickly write it down, write it down, write it down. Look at how we spell Kjan, Kejan, enterprises.com. Now you see it for yourself. That's how the Kjan is spelled. Kejan, enterprises.com. Or the number to call to WhatsApp is 285-5120. The book is called The Rabbit Race. It's a really cool, illustrative, easy to read, easy to understand, grooves you from page to the very end. The Rabbit Race, motivated by an enduring desire to improve children's literacy, is why Carrie Blackman Messiah has really condensed all of her imagination to this book onto a page. So order it now, get it. It's available also on Amazon, and I'm guaranteeing you that experience between parent and child, or child reading the book, you will find that it's very, very moving. Available locally as well. So folks, it's for children to 12 years old. I know there's a third one coming, Carrie, and I can't wait to read it itself as well. Julia Licorice, thank you so very much for joining us. So to Carrie Blackman Messiah, the author of The Rabbit Race. Let's get it today, everybody, and let's enjoy this race as well. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. Morning Barbados continues right after this. That's Chian. That song is Anytime, and anytime we have time for Chian. Chian, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very well. It is my immense pleasure to meet you. I've encountered your music. It grips me. And now I get a chance to see the face behind the voice. No, seriously. And because we have 94.7, the best 24/7, 100% local music station, yes. You know, for the very first time, perhaps, a lot of people have really not been exposed to your talent. And I know that Mahalia's Corner was also one of those places where you were featured. What a voice! Chian, where did you come from?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been really fortunate to grow up around music, with both my parents singing, and my dad used to play guitar as well. I grew up in church, so that's where I came from.
You grew up in church, that's where you came from. You know, you've been inspired by so many different people, not church people necessarily, you know, Ella Fitzgerald, Chrisette Michelle, and those are some great voices.
Honestly, it was really fun growing up with the music that I got to grow up with. A lot of the other kids my age would have been listening to like Destiny's Child and Beyonce and TLC and living their best life, and I was listening to Ella Fitzgerald for real, like trying to scat. So it was very fun, but it's been really cool to discover the music from that time period as well. Now, as an adult, it's been really cool. So
and you've discovered
the influences are definitely blended.
What have you discovered about that music from that time?
So the music from the 90s, like seriously unmatched. I feel like we were able to create from a different place then, and I'm trying to also pepper that into what I'm creating today.
Yes.
So while I would not have been influenced by it as a kid, it's definitely influencing the way I shape my sound now.
And I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of young people who perform music today who need that education, that grounding in the way it all literally almost started. And there's some great, whether it's from the beats, the orchestration, to the way that you just perform. And when I listen to you, you know, that's what I hear, that you have taken time to appreciate those earlier stages of the craft of music. And so, have you ever traveled to perform, because you're such a star already? Where have you been?
I've been quite a few places actually, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the most recent one would have been, the last trip I did would have been to LA. But I've done a few Caribbean islands. I've done Trinidad. I've done a show in Trinidad. I've done St. Martin. That's the Dutch, the one that's French and Dutch. I've done Curacao. I've been to the St. Vincent Jazz Festival as well. Beckwith Jazz, I've done performances in France. I've done performances in the UK, Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, I've traveled a bit.
You've traveled. But you know what's good is that, and it's good, but it's also a bit sad sometimes, is that people elsewhere know you well, and then there's little ones, it's 6 square miles who are struggling to know you. And I'm so glad that we do have that 100% agency, because we're now really getting to absorb you into our system, into our psyche, and going, wow. You know, just the other day I was playing your music on the air while I was in the studio, and there were some youngsters who were interning with us, and one of the things I love to do is to say, guess who's that? And oftentimes they struggle to figure out, you know, is that an international voice? And you say to them, nope, that's one of our Bajan voices. And so they caught on, these two young men who were working with me, caught on to your voice and to your music. That must mean a lot to you.
Honestly, it has been really moving to see radio stations actually pick up on our content as Barbadian artists and recognize that it can stand up to the international standards that exist today. Because I feel like a lot of artists have been working really hard on the quality of what we're producing, and it's definitely been reflected in the content. So it's amazing, really, truly amazing that the stations are starting to pay attention to us more and acknowledge what we're doing on our craftsmanship. So thank you guys at CBC for creating an entirely Barbadian station. Like, that is so cool to me that I can turn on the radio and just flick over to the station, and whatever I'm hearing for sure is going to be something from my own homeland. You know,
That's
like
right.
it's home drums beating, and that's beautiful.
Indeed,
That's
so
inspiring.
And part of the beauty is what you do. And you're so right when you made the statement that artists have upped their game. And I remember commenting to people here, you know, they've increased the level of the quality of production, the quality of performance, everything, the quality of writing across the board. It has improved. And so that 100% Beijing station is to be able to highlight that. But then your latest release is called Anytime. What's the story behind Anytime? She gets fussy.
So, Anytime is really tongue in cheek. It's kind of and it's the idea of flirting someone, or someone that you know isn't necessarily good, but they'll do for right now. You know, like they're a really great to like just tide you over. You know.
Yes.
They're that between person. They're not Mr. Right, but they'll do for Mr. Right now, you know? That kind of energy. It's I jokingly dedicate it to the waste man.
Yes.
Because it's like, as much as we flack for like not necessarily having as much ambition and drive, desire to even like settle down and all that stuff, like they serve a purpose. If every single guy were out here like settled down like today or yesterday, like be the in-between person, like who's gonna like, you know, who's gonna do that? So leave my race men alone. Let them. They're serving a purpose. Big them up. Let them do their thing, and appreciate the fact that for right now they have a purpose. Yes, you can move on and do better and do greater things, but purpose. So don't knock them. You know.
Amen to that
it's
one.
Very tongue-in-cheek.
I like it. I like it. I really, really like it, and it receives really great. So what's next for you, Chian? Because we want to be there, lock and step with.
Oh, darlings, just follow me on Twitter. Everything is Chian Barbados. Super easy. My website, chianbarbados.com. Barbados.com. Everything is that. Literally on me, and I will give you the tea, I swear.
I love it. I love it. You're such an inspiration. It is my first morning, Chian. You are truly a good-spirited person behind the music we hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the music. Thank you for the voice. Just stop producing. We can't wait to hear more.
Thank you for having me. Have a lovely day.
You do too. Thank you too. Let's go to break, Chian, anytime.
Morning, yeah, say hello. I up now. Tilt down. Tilt down some more. It like in one. Stop there. Let me